Hello and welcome. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what side of the coast you're on. Very excited to have you all on today's session today. Today we're going to talk about why winning credit unions are diversifying their business development strategies. We've got a full agenda today to go through. We'll do some introductions for those who are not familiar with CU Collaborate. We'll talk about the current landscape today in terms of credit union growth, how to diversify your growth sources, the importance of really investing in business development, and then supporting growth for your employees and your teams. And then we'll end today's session with a Q&A. I welcome you to send questions throughout my presentation in the chat, and then we'll save them all for the end. So I encourage you, ask questions, share thoughts, share feedback. Every time I do a session, I want it to be collaborative. I want it to feel like you're getting what you want out of these sessions. So please feel free to ask away. So for those who maybe aren't familiar, we are CU Collaborate. We're a data and analytics QSO. The foundation of everything we do is to help credit unions grow through data-driven insights and data-driven strategies. So our specialty is just wanting to work and help credit unions grow through various different products and services that we offer here. As I mentioned, credit unions growing is the name of the game. We're here to help them adapt and succeed in long-term growth by offering really innovative solutions, insights, and expertise. We want to drive greater impact by really living and executing the credit union philosophy of people helping people. It's one of my favorite sayings in the credit union industry. And I, as someone who's been in it for a very long time, I know that that is really what we live by in this industry. And that's why we want to see it grow. We're the good guys. At CU Collaborate, we do cover many areas of expertise, all growth centric. One thing I'm really proud about working here at CU Collaborate is the well-crafted, diverse workforce that we have. We have people of all different backgrounds that are really dedicated to their crafts and devoted to helping credit unions. It's very refreshing to have these different perspectives of outside the industry, within the industry, and I am a believer that those components of a well-crafted team can really make magic happen when it comes to innovation and the grit it takes to execute these new strategies, products, and ideas. We help credit unions, as you see, a field of membership expansion with CDFI certifications, low income designation through marketing, business development efforts, even branching. We launched our merger network last year. So there's a lot of exciting services and products coming out of CU Collaborate. So keep your eye out. Like I said, we want to be those leaders in the industry with all that cutting edge technology. So make sure you're subscribed to us and that you see any future sessions, our content on LinkedIn. We really want to push stuff out there to help credit unions grow. So now to introduce myself, I did join CU Collaborate in November of last year. The last decade of my career, I've been working directly in credit unions, leading business development teams, and really responsible for top of the funnel, which translates to no member growth. I'm so excited for the opportunity to bring my years of experience, the growing pains, the successes, and creating growth strategies for credit unions with all different target audiences, specialties, diverse field of memberships. This is something I really do geek out over, so you're probably going to watch me geek out over this entire presentation today, but it's my passion, it's in my blood, it's a job that really fills my cup, so I'm very excited to share today's session with all of you. So let's talk about the current landscape and the headwinds that we're up against and why having a strong business development strategy is important. You're probably thinking it's kind of obvious, but we need to grow. Everyone's goals have increased. I've never worked at a credit union where my goal was lowered the next year, and our strategic initiatives require growth. But I like to look at some objective data. I am happy to report that some of the peer groups, such as 1 billion to 10 billion, are seeing really decent to nice member growth, very healthy member growth. But as for some of the other peer groups, we are seeing membership decline. I want to see on future call reports that all the peer groups, all asset sizes are reporting positive member growth. I want our industry to continue growing and increasing market share. That's one of our missions here at CU Collaborate. And as credit unions, we're really good at right marketing to our own members. But in order to keep that funnel full, increase our asset size, and increase opportunity for growth, new members is a really important piece of our growth strategy. McKinsey and Company actually came out with this really great article last year from 2023, from their 2023 survey, rather. And to me, it was no surprise that once a credit union engages a new member, to see the value in utilizing them as their primary financial institution, also known as a PFI, that those members are really loyal and they're happy. And that piece of the share has stayed, it remains steady. What we do want to see is that percentage increase over time, but in order for that to increase, we need to continue opening new members. That means reaching more eligible non-members, grabbing their attention to want to join our institutions. This is a really great research article. I encourage you all to look at it. The research also emphasizes on attracting younger members and meeting those members where they're at. As credit unions, all credit unions that I've talked to, we are facing an aging membership base. So keep that top of mind for future strategies and what's on your roadmap in terms of target audience. This article does also highlight the importance of strategic partnerships, working with QSOs such as our organization, so many other QSOs out there that are specialized and focused in just helping credit unions. Finding partners that drive growth, whether it's in the fintech space, maybe it's a new large seg with a lot of opportunity. Also, mergers are highlighted, of course. This is
Hey,
always a
Deliana,
piece. Oh, yes.
could you reshare? Sorry, this is Pete. Could you just reshare your slides? Chat's mentioning they're not able to see the slide.
Oh, yeah. Give me one moment. Let me stop share. Give me one moment.
Okay.
All right. Let me get the slide back up. Thank you, Pete. Sorry about that all. What about now? Can we see the slides okay?
Chat, yes. All right. Looks like we're
All
good.
right. Awesome.
All
Thank
righty.
you for that, Pete. Thank you guys. Yeah, seeing the slides is important. So thanks for sharing that. But as I was mentioning about the McKinsey and Company article that came out in 2023, other piece that they were highlighting was that importance of strategic partners. So as I mentioned, working with QSOs, finding a new seg that's going to give you engagement, fintech partners, and of course, mergers are highlighted. I shared that because, again, we see the importance of all these areas of the growth strategy and finding really strategic partners to help you get there. Because remember, if we're not growing, we're dying, and we really need to continue opening up engaged memberships and finding really innovative new ways and solutions to create a larger eligible non-member base. So to drive growth and really create endless opportunity, we see that the largest credit unions are going to multiple common bond. This allows those credit unions to open eligibility really as broadly as possible. So depending on your current charter type, this may be an initiative that you want to add to your strategic discussions as a way to diversify your growth strategies. If today you have a more restrictive field of membership, I do encourage you to consider this as a future initiative, to talk with your executive teams, with your board. It's a really strong consideration to make a bigger funnel for your organization. Serving employees of SEGs and residents of our local communities, that's been the core of the credit union movement purpose and strategy since its birth. More than ever, building and maintaining those strong, mutually beneficial relationships with strategic partners is key to gaining really healthy new member growth that us credit unions have been accustomed to for years. It is a really critical part of the puzzle, putting strategic focus and resource allocation on each growth source. That's what I like to call them. I like to call these growth sources, and as well as exploring new growth sources as your goals. Everyone's organization has different aspirations, different goals year after year. Maybe your goal isn't to be in the billions or it's a certain asset size. Whatever that is, it usually evolves over time. And with that evolution, that's where you need more top of funnel opportunity. A lot of us credit unions started as a single employer and then throughout their history have expanded their book of business with more strategic partnerships, field of membership expansions. One thing I love about credit unions is that although we have our headwinds, we have our challenges, we do have this really cool ability. It takes work, of course, but to really help ourselves and create opportunity to cast a wider net and a really much larger eligible non-member pool. This is why I really think investing in business development is so important. I have a lot of data, luckily, to support that too. But, BD, it's not only just my passion, but BD is the tip of the spear for your organization. The best way to plan for resources and allocate not only money, but the time that your teams focus on is by understanding your current member growth sources. As you see, I kind of list a handful of them here. I tried to cover from just being in the industry for so long, all the possible ways that your teams could be focusing on driving growth. So it's with our existing partners, whether you're a SEG or community focused shop, reactivating partners that have gone inactive, of course, prospecting new business, finding really strategic ways to get your word out in the community that you serve, leveraging an associational charter, and then of course some additional growth sources. A lot of us use indirect to grow our membership base. Some of us have come out with really cool programs like Refer a Friend that we can, as a reliable growth source that we see volume come through. So when you're trying to understand your current growth sources and making sure how to properly staff and allocate those. A fun exercise that I like to do at credit unions with credit unions is making sure that you know your historical data and opportunities while still stretching your teams to find additional opportunities, and then really making a smart goal that where you have projections and goals that are attainable, that are going to push your team, going to challenge your team. And this is a way to really set a baseline and a standard with your leadership team. Hey, we know we get this percentage of our member volume from this growth source. We know a percentage comes from here. This growth source has probably the most opportunity right now. So why don't we put more resources and dollars here? Because we know that there's more eligible non-members that we haven't touched yet. It's by far one of my favorite foundational exercises that I love to work on with BD and leadership teams when they create their business development game plans. One thing I will point out, though, is a common pitfall I see is that I think credit unions really need to embrace sales cultures and invest in that strong BD strategy. When you think about it, who's responsible for negotiating and seeking out large communication opportunities at SEGs or community partners and convincing them to work with you annually on a large scale? Like, who's responsible for reselling the value of partnership when partners have gone inactive? Who is strategically innovating ways to really up the ante on how you propose partnership and the value proposition? One thing I've learned in doing business development is it's my job to bring the energy to the partners and to the organization. And we can't just be complacent in how we offer partnership because another institution, another benefit provider will take your seat. And you have to think of those things like who's your top talent out there working events, presenting to large groups. These are all very different sales skill sets. And I encourage you as you reflect on your current structure and what your team looks like, are you equipped to support the growth goals and organizational objectives that your board and leadership have set? Does your retail staff and BD staff have the right KPIs and goals and metrics to meet those expectations? You know, again, in running BD departments, this was a big piece of the foundation in creating strong business development teams and being able to showcase to my board and my leadership what we were doing was successful, or if we failed fast and we kept the bus moving. not every opportunity and everything we do with each growth source is going to be a slam dunk, but with experience, grit, having agility, you really can continue driving steady growth when you have the right goal set around the BD team that's based off the strategy that you curate for each of these growth sources. I'll say one of the phrases I dislike in the credit union industry is that we're the best kept secret. So to any growth or BD leader, that's like a dagger to the heart, because like, why create a product or service that people don't know about? What's the point? So a step you're able to take towards your credit union's growth and future is investing in more business development and marketing. I can speak for BD specifically because that was really where I, spent most of my career in the credit unions. For all the credit unions I've worked at, throughout my time, I would say a business development budget is relatively low compared to some of the other business units. It is a low-hanging fruit that can really bring strong returns. And I share that because Luis Stopico, he's our chief data scientist here at CU Collaborate. He has studied over 5,300 call report data, and he's really extensively studied what accounts in publicly available data most correlates with credit union growth. And in his findings, he did see that investing in what we kind of bucket in the call reports as education promotion expense, which really loosely ties back to marketing and business development, is 7 times more significant in credit union growth. And this is for credit unions of all sizes. Of course, it still has to be a holistic approach. Once we're doing service and our products and the rates are good, you need a strong strategy to make your field of membership aware. Stop being the best kept secret. Like what's that saying? Secrets are no fun unless you tell everyone. That applies to credit unions too. I'm changing that today. So consider potentially doubling your budget for this business unit over the course of 3-5 years over time, and see how that really correlates to your growth. I really feel confident you won't be disappointed in that. And again, want to emphasize this. If you're going to screenshot any slide, I think this is the one for today's session. But if you take $1 and you spend it on giving people better rates on deposits, or if you take that same dollar and spend it on BD and marketing, again, in the research from Luis, from all the call reports, the bang for your buck is 7 times larger if you were to spend it on marketing versus giving people better rates. It's very shocking, I'm sure, to some on this call, but like I like to say, the proof is in the pudding here. Again, it's the lowest hanging fruit. It's something easy. It's something cheap that you could do. And I will quote Luis on this because I had a lot of discussions with him about his research here. And, he claims, he's like, I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a BD person. But one thing I've seen in the data is that it works very well. So this is why I'm a really data-driven believer that this is an important piece of the strategy. There's been times in the credit unions I've worked at where I've seen a big reduction in business development and marketing resources where they've been cut. Of course, like that's just the life of running business. We have to make cuts. There's years that are tighter than others, but I've also seen those same years a direct correlation on pace and member growth. So take this into consideration, again, as another little nugget that you can apply today, apply in your next strategic planning session, to drive and really diversify that strategy to bring growth back, organic growth back to your organization. So in a perfect world, we should be able to track everything because I think that's where any finance people on the call, it's like, that's the next thing. So if I'm going to put money and resources towards this business unit, how do I see the ROI? And in a perfect world, we should be able to track every effort down to a T. And for the most part, there's a lot of resources out there that get us really close to tracking exact attribution, but there is no silver bullet. I last year taught in the America's Credit Unions Business Development Certification School. I did a marketing year 2 course and I did the BD certification. And one of the students in the class asked, like, but like you can't track all of it, and that is true. You have an app source link, you click out of it, they wander your site, you lose that, and that's going to happen until something, a product or something comes out there that is really like bulletproof in that sense. There is going to be a little bit of that. But there will be efforts, like I said, you can't track every piece of the eligible non-member journey, but there's a lot of resources at our fingertips that allow us to. So I challenge anyone on this call, challenge yourselves to measure as much as possible. Don't wave the white flag when you have roadblocks. And if you're not doing this today, start measuring. If you're already measuring, have you developed baseline metrics to showcase to your C-suite, your board, the effectiveness on your initiatives and how you spend your dollars? There's a lot of layers to business development, and it's our job as BD growth leaders to use the mechanisms and the data that we have to showcase ROI. Don't get me wrong, I do love good, feel good stories. I'm not heartless, but I'd rather let my results speak for themselves. One thing I'll emphasize here is that audience size is a really big, important piece of the BD game, the sales game. The larger the audience size, the greater chance of acquisition. Initiatives can bring anywhere from 1 to 5% participation. Hey, sometimes it can be higher, 10%. But your call to action is also important. When it comes to giving your organization the best chance to make an impact and drive a lot of interest, these are the data points I like to measure over the years, reassess, scrutinize, be really objective. And I encourage all of you to do so. We have some promotions we put out there that are slam dunks. We do them annually. Our members wait for them. They're excited. Sometimes over time, those can get stale. And sometimes there's call to actions we think are going to be great, and then they don't get the attribution. So I do this all the time. I create work. I look at it 2 years later and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was garbage. Or I look at it and I'm like, I was ahead of my time. So I encourage you to really scrutinize, be objective, look at all those initiatives that you do. And it's okay to say it wasn't great. It's okay to give yourself the pat on the back too, but just like keep moving, fail fast, keep learning. This is a great example of how you get smarter with each initiative. Seg channels are really low cost, high impact. With each initiative, I really assess that call to action, see if there's ways to lower your acquisition cost. This example, they were able to cut the cost by almost 50% from the previous year. I think a lot of CFOs, CEOs, financial guys on this call, financial women on this call would say that, hey, to acquire a member, $20 or less sounds really nice to me in terms of an initiative and a business development kind of campaign. So when you're curating these campaigns, I call these qualifiers. In my time of doing this, and the data that it's always been really apparent, you only get a fraction of those new members that meet those qualifiers. So a lot of times I think we like to project conservatively that 100% of the members are going to be paid out. In my opinion, it's not an accurate projection. And if for some miracle it does happen, I would say that's a really good problem to have. And money well spent in growing the membership base. You can also leverage really low cost, high impact channels with community partners, leverage their followers, their subscribers, et cetera. Through a meaningful partnership with a community partner, you can get access to communicate to those eligible non-members through the following and the loyal, consumers that they have created. And those are really, really strong strategic community partners. All ideas are scalable, whether you're a SEG or community focused shop. For anyone who's ever been in any of my sessions or any of my speaking engagements at conferences, that's something I'll always share. I've worked with really small budgets, big budgets, kind of everything in between. And the cool thing about the industry is we're really open to sharing and learning from one another. But just because you hear an idea at a shop and you're like, it would never work at mine, or I don't have the money, think of how you can scale these ideas with the field of membership and opportunities that you do have. So supporting growth and your business development function takes a lot of foundational work and infrastructure in place. Again, one of my favorite things to do, I've been responsible for building up business development teams from scratch, really working with some well-oiled machines as well. One of my favorite things an employee, a team member told me years ago is that in BD, there's a lot of freedom within structure. A lot of us have a big book of business. None of us are short of keeping the funnel full or being busy. And I think traditionally BD is seen as kind of like the boots on the ground. I even hear like they're the party planners, they're the event people. Yes, that is a portion of our function, but it's just like a portion of the pie that is business development. Uncovering opportunities and establishing expectations and gaining commitments from SEGs or community partners is where you get a really big bang for your buck. You're selling ideas and concepts here, coupled with, of course, the products and services that go directly to the eligible non-members. But it's kind of a harder thing to sell. You need to get your best people uncovering those opportunities, selling to a strategic partner why they should let you do an all-employee communication, why they should be able to send a message to all their subscribers. It takes finesse, it takes trial and error, it takes a lot of visualization. You have to put it in front of the partner. I always say when you do something with a partner, take images, have pictures of it, use that in future decks to showcase, hey, we did this with another partner here. It worked so well. We were able to help this many people, this much participation. And you leverage those things and also never settle with your value prop. I think, again, one of those things, I've worked in really great credit unions, and I know we have great things to sell to employer groups and to community partners. But like I said, someone else out there, a fintech, another organization wants to take our seat. So we can't settle with a package that we came out in, 2015. It's 10 years later. Like, how have you changed and evolved how you sell partnership? Those are the uncovering opportunities. You got to get your kind of your big guns on that one, to really drive in and sell those concepts. You need the right resources and training for your teams to sell the credit union in both a B2B and B2M way. You need to invest in really sharpening those skill sets for those responsible of executing this really hard job. There's always new sales strategies coming out. There's a lot of resources, whether it's through working with certain firms or companies. Of course, different trainings out there, different associations put out trainings. I mean, there's like a lot of things out there. And it's a skill set that can always be sharpened and modified. And there's always areas for opportunity, as we like to say when we do reviews, right? It's important too to create that unified strategy. Our leaders on this call, our board, we set the goals for the organization, and then you have your BD teams, your retail teams, your marketing teams, frontline that should know what those goals are and are responsible for executing on them. I think it's so important to have really measurable KPIs, metrics, goals. Again, with business development being a lot of freedom within structure, what is your goal with a SEG? Do you even have goals with your SEGs? If you don't today, I encourage you to have goals, and not just a new member goal. That's the end goal. We all know that. But a real goal with a SEG is, I want to be able to communicate broadly to all their employees. I want them to promote me just for a 4 to 6 week period, just the credit union, not any other vendor provider that they work with. Those are goals that you should be setting for your sales teams to execute on, that then drive growth back to the credit union. I'm really big on having reporting, not only to instill friendly competition amongst your sales team, but reporting that leadership can quickly access to monitor effectiveness and progress. Also reporting that you could share back to your strategic partners to show effectiveness, participation, engagement. We have a really cool product, our impact reporting here at CU Collaborate, which again, kind of makes it easy for you so you don't have to create the reports yourself. We do that. But that kind of stuff shows value, adds to your value prop, but also adds value within the organization, not only externally, but internally. I also think it's important to have goals top of mind. Are you showing your progress to goal daily, weekly, monthly? I'm a fan of showing this daily. It could be a little ruthless, but I'm a salesperson, tried and true. It should not be a surprise to anyone when you're ahead or behind on goal. Find ways to automate this kind of reporting so that every person within the credit union really knows where they need to go and how their role plays into the bigger picture of growth. I mean, those KPIs should be right in front, easily accessible. Where are we in asset growth? Where are we in new member growth or operating expense? Maybe there's some other KPIs within the organization that you're setting. These should be visible. And again, it should make it a part of the culture within your organization. We should have, like I said, I think a pitfall in credit unions is establishing and creating a sales culture. I can confidently say our institutions sell with integrity. So I think, whatever that side of the fear is of really going in on a sales culture can be, I think there's measures, checks and balances you can put in place. But ultimately, we need that kind of momentum to start growing our institutions, not only faster, but sustainably as well. So we're kind of nearing the end. I know we set for an hour, but I'll definitely have some time for questions. But credit unions that are winning and really in business development, as we kind of talked, have really repeatable, data-driven processes to track ROI, really measuring your performance. I've talked and emphasized a lot about measurement. Casting a wide net and having a wide range of demographics, different products, services that tailor their needs. If there is a seg that's willing to promote you, but they want maybe a certain savings product created, is that worthwhile? Is the ROI there for your team to create a new kind of code product in your core, offer it to the seg, but then the seg gives you access to communicate to their 10,000 employees twice a year? I mean, these are the internal discussions where you have to be really objective and weigh in. Is it worth the lift and the effort? And again, trial and error. But I think when these opportunities come up, have these deep conversations internally. Seek out and develop relationships with SEGs, with community partners, leverage their low-cost channels. Once you prove to them you're easy to work with, that what you do, you can prove back to them that there was results, that there was things that they can then showcase to their leadership and within their organization, they're going to be like, oh, it's so easy working with this credit union. This is now an annual part of my roadmap of what I do at work on an annual basis as a benefits total reward HR professional, and you keep it going. We have to prove that to those select employer groups. Like I said, other institutions want to work with large employers, small size employers, and they're cold calling our businesses. So we can't have them take our seat. And from a community standpoint, and even if you are a SEG focus, it is really great to be involved with local businesses, schools, communities, fostering a really positive brand, leveraging all these new technologies that are out there to drive growth, reduce friction, making those informed decisions with our field of membership. And then I know I've emphasized this a lot throughout today's presentation, but staying agile, adaptable, and being ready to change and respond to the changing market. I know a lot of us felt this way. Technology shot up like this. The pandemic pushed us all in a direction faster than I think we all anticipated. And as an industry, we have to keep up with that. There's of course challenges, but it is something that we have to keep top of mind. Like I said, there's a lot of competitors out there. One thing I didn't highlight, this could be a whole other session, but growing our book of business means having a strategy with each piece of the funnel. So acquisition, origination, and onboarding. I will say I don't think the solution is just increasing top of funnel. That is very important, but we need skin in the game in all the components of the funnel of growth. Focusing on top of funnel, really converting origination from non-members. Then also the origination piece, so reducing abandonment, auto-approving apps, getting those people through, and then onboarding, really facilitating smoother and more intuitive paths to engagement and really creating a true engaged member that wants to utilize your institution's products and services. So lastly, in all, I want us to really be proactive, not reactive. As you can tell, I'm very excited about all this business development stuff because it's just such an important piece of growth. We have to think of futuristic strategies. We have to use new tools, technologies, try new things, be innovative and not be complacent. You see all these large credit unions on there, they're being proactive and not reactive. And there's also a lot of different asset sizes that are doing the same and growing. And it's so impressive. I get really excited when I talk to credit unions of different asset sizes, hear things that they're doing that maybe a larger shop has not even thought of. It's really cool to see that agility and innovation within all different credit unions. But again, we want more of it. We want to see more. We want to see more growth overall. And then lastly, this is just one of my first webinars here at CU Collaborate. I'm no stranger to webinars, but we're just kind of scratching the surface here. There's so much more to share, dive in on, learn when it comes to growth. And I'm happy to work at a QSO that all my credit union people and trailblazers can lean on. I'm part of a great team. Chris Tissue, he is our chief operating officer, but he's also head of the consulting team who I work on. And then Phyllis Lee, she's our chief marketing officer. So a lot of business development strategies have a nice marriage with marketing. So we have her expertise as well on board. And like I mentioned, the very diverse, disruptive, fun talent pool here that really wants to innovate for credit unions and drive credit union growth through our different products, services, consulting offerings. And like I said, you'll see more coming out of CU Collaborate, and we're excited to partner with you throughout those journeys. But I know we're just a little over a half hour into today's session, so I wanted to take a pause here and just see if there's any questions. Pete, if there's any questions in the chat.
Yeah, there's one that came through if you check the Q&A panel, Deliana.
Give me a second.
And I believe that was back on your slide when you were referencing the marketing tracking.
Okay, so I see about, do we get a copy of the presentation? So I know we send a recording, but yeah, I could definitely get some slides over to the individual that asked through the chat. Am I missing any?
The question, yeah, was from Elizabeth, and she was asking any recommendations on tracking methods that you were using would be appreciated.
Yeah, so one of the tracking methods, we would call them app source links. So through the NMA, through the new member application, we were able to develop links that were, we could even pre-fill like promo codes. So if your applications for any campaign using promo codes is key. There's of course going to be people that miss it, but I would use Blend at my last institution. And with Blend, we were able to create these app source links. Those app source links, we could even have the promo code auto-filled. So if they scan the QR code or use that exact link, it opened them to the new member application. And then through there, we could really track how many came through that source. So we had some of those mechanisms. I would say promo codes was one of my favorite things, having trackable links on every single deliverable that I would have floating around at a SEG or a community partner. But those what I would say are some of the ones that I would use a lot for like campaigns or initiatives that I would launch for member acquisition initiatives. Let's see. I see just other questions. Yeah, recording will be sent out. And I don't think I see, let me see if there's any others. Oh, what about HubSpot? So I haven't used HubSpot directly in a credit union. We actually use HubSpot here, so you collaborate. But there are ways to track, I would say, within the CRMs. A lot of my initiatives, again, my last shop, I would use Salesforce, but any initiatives we did, we could tie back to our CRM. So I'm sure there's ways out there. I've been a part of building CRMs at my last credit union, as well as using, like I said, a well-oiled CRM. So that's definitely something, if you want to like schedule time, I could talk through, explore with you. But there are ways to track campaign attribution through those CRM functions. I'm just not as versed like in the credit union space with HubSpot, whereas I was with, I would say, some other CRMs that I've used. But I'm sure there is. HubSpot's a really good CRM, in my opinion. Let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, so it's okay. Sounds like new and existing segs are a fantastic growth source. Curious if you're seeing any trends from credit unions tapping into those in unique ways. Yeah, I would say that with segs specifically, first off, finding new segs or new strategic partners, but I think there's ways to show value to the seg depending on their own offerings. I think credit unions that do seg really well almost become an employee of that seg. They're ingrained in the company culture. They understand their benefits and resources. I worked at a credit union where we had a wealth advising arm, and they knew their employee stock purchase plan like the back of their hand. They knew their 401k programs like the back of their hand. So I think as you deepen seg relationships, maybe there are people on staff that you give a stretch assignment to. It's like you're going to be this point person for this seg in this area of our offerings. Get really ingrained and know that seg's company culture. And I think those are ways to differentiate yourself and really uniquely position yourself as a strong partner and a partner that's not going to go anywhere for a seg. Like I said, people want our seat. People want to work with our companies, our community partners. And so we always, like I said, have to kind of up the ante and show why we should remain in that seat and why we're the best option. Let me see, I have another question. We're a small credit union, less than 100 million, sole BD officer. And the main focus is to create strong relationships and with townships and nonprofits. Are there other industries you would recommend that have high ROI return on assets or return on time? You know, I don't know if it's necessarily an industry specific because I've worked with all different industries. I think where you're going to get the highest ROI and return on time is the level of engagement you get from whatever partner. So if a township, I mean, to some element, audience size, as I kind of talk through, is really important. You want to be able to reach a larger eligible non-member pool. So I don't know how many employees those townships or nonprofits have, but where I see the best return on my time is spending time with those partners that want to give me the time also. You know, there's an element to chasing down a partner that, you know, we a pie in the sky, like we dream to work with because they on paper seem like the ideal employer, but there could be an employer that has a nice amount of opportunity, but is willing to work with us, give us all employee communications, do joint financial well-being ventures that bring visibility back to your credit union. To me, those are the ones that are worth our time. And then again, over time, as you set, you know, relationship expectations, B2B expectations, you'll then be able to refine the strategy and then again, kind of find more opportunities and like rinse and repeat how you manage those relationships with others. Okay, this is a good one. A lot of customer personas like HR and benefits don't want to talk about an employee financial situation, even though that's not what we're talking about. So I totally get that. I think there's a level of anonymity that HR wants to keep in terms of their employees' finances. I think the way that I kind of get through that obstacle is, you know, your expectation is not to talk about the employee's financial picture. What our expectation in partnership is, if there are situations that come up and there are things that you should be communicating on an annual basis to employees to know that these things are available, that's where we step in. And all of our data and everything that we have is aggregated. You know, we're not singling out, you know, Jane Doe in this department and this person's finances. I think emphasizing the importance of our policies and ethics within organizations, but also giving the confidence to those HR teams that that's not our end goal. Our end goal is to provide the education, the services, the products that help their employees through every stage in their life, through every everyday paycheck. That's the purpose of partnering with financial institution. I will say, I do think financial well-being is so important as a part of partnership, but in my time, it's not the piece of the partnership that drives growth per se. This could be shocking to people, but I take a lot of hard looks at numbers and objective looks at the campaigns that I've done over the years, but it's an important piece. So to me, I've been able to sell the value of working with a financial institution to companies without the core basis of it being financial well-being. But again, it's important, but we also want to help people make the most of each paycheck. And again, HR doesn't have to do any of that talking. Let us do it. Okay, I do see a few other coming through. Oh, besting the lead with segs. Yeah, I think it's like what a partnership package, like what do they get out of partnering with you? Can you give them numbers to report back into their annual write-up? Hey, the credit union gave back this many thousands of dollars back into our employees' pockets. These are two things annually we can leverage from the credit union for free. There's a lot of ways to lead with SEGs. What I've learned is how we package partnership is important. Like I said, we can't get complacent. It's not just let us set up a table in your lunchroom. Let us be there in open enrollment. It has to be beyond that. It has to be a packaged partnership that is very clear. These are things we work on together. These are things I give you that you put throughout the entire employment process. And then these are extra things that we do for you guys throughout the year. I know it's kind of vague. I can go deeper, but I want to make sure I get to some of these questions, but it's all about how you package it. Okay, let me see. Credit unions been using financial well-being as their main way to sell the SEGs. It's getting a little tired. Oh yeah, okay, this kind of goes back. I would say for SEGs specifically, again, financial well-being, I would agree with this. It is getting a little tired in the market. I think that's where truly having a financial institution partnership is important. We know that we go the extra mile to try our best to approve that loan because we know that is a member or constituent of our community. We know that that's a member maybe in a TDFI area or employee of that SEG. We're going to go way farther in the process of trying to get approvals, trying to get that person's needs met than another institution because we have this partnership. We have a vested interest in those employees, that demographic, because of our partnership. And that's where you can showcase, I say, develop reporting, whether it shows, I like to call it coded data. We have a lot of coded data in our systems. If you take that coded data and showcase over time, this is how many employees of this SEG that we've helped over time, and you show really, I mean, really cool data of like, this is how many people we've helped buy homes. This is how many people we help with their transportation to and from work. We have to just kind of change our credit union jargon. I would say speak in more layman's terms, because even saying like real estate, like, I mean, you have to make that HR person feel something, that this benefit is making their employees happy. They feel something, they can resonate with the story of someone coming in and needing help and asking for a raise or whatever it is that they deal with. I mean, HR deals with a lot. It's a way you have to sell a story through those products and services and show them like we're invested in your people. And a lot of times too with SEGs, believe it or not, I'm a salesperson. Like I said, tried and true. I tell them like, give me a shot. Let me show you why this partnership is valuable. And if you don't like it, like if you're not happy with this first instance, this first endeavor together, then I'll understand, but give me the shot to show you. Okay, we have a few more. Oh, I like that. Leading financial education to get into the door. It does get us into the door. I will say one of the things I've done at my other credit unions is, thinking outside the box with financial education. We have a lot of providers that we work with. We create our materials in-house. I had a SEG that was getting inundated with like Medicare and Social Security questions. And she was like, I am not a Medicare Social Security person. And we're like, we have a solution for you. We know those are free speakers. Now, they're not the most exhilarating speakers, but there are some good ones within Social Security and Medicare, believe it or not. But we took the time as a credit union to source that, create the event for them. Again, changing the way we look at financial education with a SEG. And then that opened doors. Those events alone brought in triple digit attendees. We captured all the leads of those events. And then it was something, again, got in our good graces with our SEGs. It fed to our bottom line. And it was just a different way of thinking of providing financial education and filling a need that our SEGs actually have. And it doesn't cost you anything except your time, because Social Security, it costs nothing to partner with a Social Security speaker. And then you also get the demographic. I mean, usually the demographic wanting to learn more about this, probably near retirement, probably heavy deposits. So again, like it's just like thinking a little differently, thinking a little bit outside of the box. I think I've covered all of them. Let me just check the chat, and Pete, just keep me honest here. Okay, see.
Doing great.
Okay, sorry guys, I missed a lot in the chat. Um, small credit union, 100 million asset. Okay, no, I think this one I saw. How can you show the benefit of being a great community partner when all they want you to do is have a flyer in their new employee packet? Is there a good way to get in the door? Or the ideas that we may not have thought of? And I think that's where you think you kind of get creative. Some of the things I've done at other institutions is in their employee packet, of course, I think that's a standard. We should always be in benefit inclusion and be a part of that packet. But are there areas in the employment process that, they have to communicate when someone gets promoted? They have to communicate. Maybe there's groups within the organization that have stretch assignments that have to help promote initiatives within the company. I think some good ways to get more embedded in the company is finding those broad relationships within the organization, creating programs, or again, reframing what you already offer just to get in a different channel. I think there's a lot of ideas out there that could share that. Like I said, I want to kind of make sure I get through the questions, but to get in and actually talk to employees, I did find a lot of success in branching out farther than HR. Find relationships with employee resource groups, find relationships with kind of like really niche groups within employers. Again, I felt in my time ERG events were more well attended than HR events. So I tried to get savvy, tried to figure out ways to get more visibility through different groups and different people to get access to even more employees. Oh, okay. Some employees do not want to promote one financial institution, so I'm encountering that with a non-active seg. Yeah, I definitely have faced that. Multiple FIs that they offer. I think what will help you stand out in those situations is giving them something, a joint financial well-being effort or a collaborative initiative that you work on together that makes it easy for them. You do all the heavy lifting, establish a production timeline. This is when we'll get you the concept, you approve it, we'll format it for your all employee email. Like, let's get this out there. And then I'm going to report back how successful it was. And then, I encourage you, give us feedback. What are your other partners doing that we're not doing? Is there something that we could be serving you better with? That's an objective I've gotten a lot in my career. And I definitely think there's ways to get around it or to prove value. Sam Edwards. Okay, I've gotten a lot of buy-in from SEGs by simply focusing on only their needs, interests, especially when it comes to employer retention. An employee that is more invested in the workplace via credit union relationships will stick around longer than someone who doesn't see the value. I love this. Shout out to Sam Edwards for this in the chat. Some really valuable nuggets here. How do you determine what percentage of the credit union goal should come from BD? So I think it depends what your makeup is. If you have branches, of course, there's some responsibility. I would say over time, the percentage that comes from branches, in my experience, that percentage has lowered. And again, it's nothing in my opinion, no fault to the branches, but because I would say technology has skyrocketed, the pandemic pushed us to really lean into using and leveraging everything kind of remotely from the palm of our hands. I would say the percentage probably increases. It might not be the answer you want to hear on the BD side of things versus retail staff. Of course, there's a percentage that I'm sure is expected for marketing efforts. So I think it depends what the makeup of your institution is, what your branch looks like, what your business development team looks like. Again, that's something I could definitely work with you on, just kind of like really kind of breaking it down in a way that's strategic, makes sense, pushes each business unit to go for a harder goal while also being reasonable with your leadership team of like, this is the baseline. This is what we're at. This is the historical data. That's what it's showing us. Okay. Fine. Okay. Just more, I love the collaborativeness in the chat. Everyone just kind of like sharing their insights. I think I got through all the questions. And again, Pete, just keep me honest here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you've gotten through everything.
Awesome. Yes, and Pete did put in the chat, although the link says Koki, she's my partner in crime in this, so she's helping me schedule. So feel free to schedule time with me. I thank you all so much for your time today. Looking forward to future sessions and just seeing all the great things you accomplished this year. So thank you.